Okay, we're back. We're going to be talking about all the twists and turns that are ahead for the cast of Survivor Blood versus Water. Got Jonathan Penner and Stacy Title, his wife, here. And this is going to really be good because you guys can actually put yourself in some of these people's positions and discuss it as what you would do.
And what's interesting, which obviously was a rule that they've now broken, was they always said if you were on a family visit, you could not play. You could not play in the game. And I feel like there must be some...
Well, you know Laura visited Rupert, so they threw that rule out.
And they broke that rule.
Yeah.
Really interesting. So I always felt after I went that first time that I would never get to play. And maybe we would get asked to do it later, but I'm very interested to think
Well, I think
would you play with me if they asked us?
I would play with you. I don't know if I'd be a great
That'd be
player.
fun to watch.
I think I'd be...
She's much more competitive than I am, folks.
Well, I think you're both super competitive. I know she is just from talks with her about other stuff like basketball and that. She is uber competitive. And you are too, so...
One of those crazy people that if I'm not good at something, it really makes me mad.
Do you think playing together would change your style any, Jonathan?
No.
You're just hopeless.
No, I'm hopeless. Hopefully, and this is what I'm talking about, hopefully you'd get somebody out there, like Candace needs somebody to get her past 7th place. I've played 3 times, I've never made it past 7th place because I have a blind spot, which is a trusting blind spot, right? Or stupidity, or whatever the hell it is,
Right.
And so, you need see, here's the thing, and I'm not going to make excuses for why I didn't win, which I actually should have this last time, but I did never have that trusted ally from the get-go. Okay?
Yeah.
So to take the pressure off me a little bit, once I actually got myself into the position to win, I screwed it up. But to have somebody out there that's really watching your back is a fantastic dynamic because it makes it easier for every player and it makes it harder for every player because, oh crap, we split that couple up.
Right.
Split that couple up. Well, we ain't going to let the two of you march forward.
I mean, you're right. I mean, Lisa and Mike Scoop and Yule and Becky, when you played, you were in a position...
Oh, Amanda and Parvati. I mean, on day one, whether it's a pre-game alliance or you make that alliance when you hit the beach, you have to have that person.
But don't you think if we got to play together, one of the things I would bring is not your puzzle-making ability, not your outdoorsy, because he is incredibly, he would rather walk barefoot. When we walk the dogs, he wears no shoes. He's like a kook. But I would bring a little bit of the, you need to lie to this person.
Yeah,
Lisa says to you, I want to go to the end of the game, and you're laying there tired. If I was lucky, I'd be sitting there and I'd be like, yeah, of course. I mean, because you just, I don't know. I mean, maybe you overthought it, but I feel like maybe in some ways I would enhance the game, and then other ways, because I'm an older woman, I'm a perfect target to take out. Even though I am athletic, I still think people would look at me like, oh, she can't bring much.
Well, you just have to kick ass. I mean, that's the thing that Denise was able to do, which made her such a winner ultimately, was, even though they lost that first challenge and lost, there was never any question that she was giving 110% and was better in the water than Angie and Russell and I don't remember everyone else on their team's name, but, she was a hell of an athlete and a competitor. But let's not talk about us. Let's talk about the
another thing, though, I mean, in along these lines of thinking, if you're out there, maybe not a married couple as much, but maybe a father-daughter or mother-daughter or boyfriend-girlfriend, and maybe you get in a situation where, say, let's just take Tyson and Rachel, for example. Say Rachel goes to Tyson and says, Tyson, you really need to calm it down a little bit because you're drawing a lot of attention to us. What's to say Tyson don't come back and say, look, I've played the game before. Don't try to tell me what to do.
For sure. There's definitely the ego part of it. And, you can't, when you think about it, you can't imagine Tina taking a lot of advice from her daughter. You can't imagine Candace actually taking a lot of advice from her husband because they've played twice.
I can see that.
I hope she does. I mean, who else? I mean,
I actually think Colton having Caleb, I think that might sort of tone
Really
Colton down.
Yeah. See, I would take your advice, and this is what I'm talking about. You need somebody out there just to talk it out, just to say, what is our next move? What are we doing so that you can figure it out together?
Right.
So,
See, a lot of it goes into who you take.
That one other vote with you, you know.
Yeah, and a lot of it depends on what person you took with you, because you probably would listen to Stacy. If it was me, I'll listen to JJ. That's the one person that can tell me, hey, calm down now, cool it, and I'll do it. Most everybody else, I'm just going to keep rolling forward.
Well, how quickly are they getting to play with their loved one?
Well,
tell us what you know.
this season, for the first time ever, it's actually not 39 days long. It's like 39 and a half days that they're going to have what they call day zero, where you're just out there with your loved one in a section of the island by yourself, and you're not supposed to know what's going to happen. You may be part of some kind of crazy twist. So that's the first part of it. Then they all meet up to be officially welcomed by Jeff to start the game the next morning. They spend the night together with just their loved one.
Nice.
The next, when he brings them in, the first thing that happens is he makes them vote right away. One player off of each tribe to go to Redemption Island.
The tribes are the 10 returning players and the 10 loved ones.
Exactly. Now, it wasn't supposed to be that. The first plans was for it to actually be what it says on the marquee, blood versus water.
Right, which is different.
Yeah, but when RC's dad had the high blood pressure and they didn't feel comfortable with letting him play, they were replaced by a married couple, Candace and John, so that threw it all out to where they mixed the tribes up differently, came up and added some new twist, like at the very last minute.
I think it's better. I really do. Because it's a sham to say there's a difference between the blood of Gervais and his niece are a tighter bond than the water, which is Kat and her.
Or Colton and Caleb, You know what
right.
I mean? Yeah.
Or Candace and her husband.
So
or
to me, the smarter, and this is just me, tell me what you guys think, the smarter split is there's 10 returning players who may or may not know each other versus 10 loved ones who may or may not.
Right. And the initial plans were they were going to be voted out as pairs. Just say, for instance, you were out there and you got voted out. Stacy got to go with you to Redemption Island.
We were going to be on the same team, is that right?
Yeah.
Now we wouldn't be on the same team initially.
Yeah, this was the initial plans with blood versus water. You and your loved one would leave. They wanted family drama on Redemption Island is what they wanted.
I get it.
Well, I guarantee that's why they have this day zero.
But you know what, Johnny? Why the day zero thing? If they don't have the pairs together.
Yeah, that way at least every couple you get to see their dynamic. Right? You have day zero, so there's going to be 10 couples, 10 crews shooting them.
Exactly.
10
at night.
fires or 10
at night.
in love or whatever the hell they're going to do together, and you're going to see the dynamic, and then the next day they're going to split them up because some of those people will never talk to their loved one on camera again unless it's Redemption Island or something like that. Right?
Well, see,
in other words, what's interesting is, had they left it, blood versus water, I bet they wouldn't have had the day zero. The day zero came in, I think, probably when they had to make the adjustment.
Yeah.
They were not going to have the couples together.
Yeah, that did. They trashed the idea of voting them out in pairs, and now instead of that, you're going to have 3 people on Redemption Island instead of 2, and all you have to do is just not lose. Don't come in third.
That's better. I like that. Because last time I played, that was the whole thing about when we had 3 tribes. Just don't lose. You
right.
don't have to win, just don't lose.
Right.
And one of the things I hated about Redemption Island, for me, was that watching it, you lost out on those big initial challenges, right? Instead of a challenge for the audience to watch and the tribes to play against each other for a reward, it was the duel on Redemption Island, which is not as interesting. So I guess for 3 people, it'll be a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, well, now here's another twist about the Redemption Island. Let's say Stacy gets voted out. She heads to Redemption Island. Jeff can say, well, Jonathan, here's what the challenge, you're all sitting up here watching this challenge. You see what this challenge is going to be, Jonathan. If you want to swap with Stacy, you can take her place. You can do the challenge. Stacy will go to the opposite tribe.
Well, you know what? That's like a potential disaster. I'll tell you why. Would I do it? You want to do it because you love your loved one and you want to support them and keep them in the game, right? The problem is you may not be doing your loved one any favors by sending them to another tribe.
Exactly.
They're going to be the low man on the totem pole, and let them take their shot at Redemption Island, stay in the game. I don't know. I'm spitballing here. I'd never heard about this thing, but my initial reaction is, yeah, I could probably survive better in some challenge on Redemption Island than Stacy, but putting Stacy on my tribe...
Well, just put me at Redemption Island with him.
Yeah, might just put both of us out there with nobody to replace us the next time.
Can you imagine? To me, this sort of defeats the whole social aspect of the game. You're working your alliances and this and that. All of a sudden, you feel like you need to swap with your loved one on Redemption Island. They get thrown to the other tribe. Let's say you do win and go back in. You've lost all your social alliance, and you put your loved one in a bad spot socially.
Sorry, this is sort of what I meant. This is just another version of how you've got that one person who's watching your back. At the end of the day, they're saying it's really about you and your loved one, and how the game is going to play out, because you could shuffle the deck every time there was one of you was on Redemption Island, conceivably, just to sort of save your hide or screw somebody else. I don't know. It gets way too complicated, and people aren't prepared to play that complicated a game.
And I don't think it's as fun to watch. And I understand they want twists because they don't want people to march to the end of the game with these threesomes.
Well, and that's not even the whole thing. Jeff Probst actually even came out and bluntly stated that he liked this because it would give big-name characters like Rupert. He used Rupert and Colton as examples, second or third chance to stay in the game and create more drama. And in my opinion, good gameplay, good strategy, good alliances, that creates drama.
Sure does. I don't think you need all this, and excuse the word, this is a Yiddish word, mishigas, which means
what's it mean?
Craziness.
Yeah.
You don't need all that extra stuff. And I know maybe they were insecure when they lost their actual title. That must have made their brains explode, the producers. But to I don't know, the whole, I don't know, for me, Redemption Island, in and of itself, I don't like it either, even though, of course, every time Jonathan played, I always wished there was that. That he would have been able to chance
so I could possibly redeem myself.
Yes, exactly. But I like the fire going out, meaning something.
Yeah, I'm a purist like that. I think once they've worked and they did all their work and got you out, I think that should be it.
Me too.
So the idea is to just keep folks around so they can.
Well,
how disappointed or scared or whatever it is, because once you're out, you're out, you're out, you're out.
It can eventually get to where you need a scorecard to keep up with who's on what tribe.
Yeah.
Let's say for instance,
no tribal identity after.
Let's say for instance, you guys show up and for some reason Stacy is one of the first impression votes, and she has to immediately go to Redemption Island.
And I think that could have easily happened.
And then it's time for the challenge, and Jonathan looks at it and says, I can do this, Stacy. So he takes your place. She goes back into the game.
My place.
Yeah, and you're still out there. And later in the game, let's say the tribe says, well, Stacy, we done voted you out once. We're going to vote you out again. So she gets voted out and she heads to Redemption Island. This is twice she's been booted already. Let's say she goes on a run out there and wins her way back in, and she's the one that comes back in, and damn, they don't have to vote her out a third time.
It's crazy.
I mean, that's
and
not
the way
survival.
That back in is by beating me, by the way.
Yeah, it could be if you were still out there. Yeah,
we're both on Redemption Island. There's nobody who can take our place, right?
Right.
We're playing against each other.
And see, that's the other strategy. I've talked with some cast from this year and previous cast members, and pretty much everybody agrees you need to target the married couples because they aren't going to go against each other.
You're right.
And, you know, if they get far, one of them gets in the finals and the other one gets on the jury, that's a sure vote and influence in the jury. You need to target the married couples first.
And the winners, I think. I think that's going to be the strategy.
The truth is, everyone's going to vote for their loved one. If they can if they're on the jury and their loved one makes it to a final three, they're going to vote for them.
Right, and that's another reason not to. That's another reason to target.
But wait, hear me out. Unless it's going to work one of two ways. Either there's going to be two loved ones on the final two or three, and another person, right? Or there's going to be three people who are not related to each other.
But it wouldn't be smart strategy for you and Stacy both to be two of the final three because you could cut each other's votes. You could eliminate each other with one or two votes, and the third person wins.
Well, no, you could just say to everyone, I would definitely say, don't vote for me.
I just wouldn't do it.
Vote for me.
Yeah, but what would you would if it was you?
If it was me and JJ and we're that far, good for her. I'll go to the jury and I'll vote for you and I'll try to get you votes. That's what I would do.
Yeah, it's a complicated thing, right?
Yeah.
But I think you both isolated something interesting, which is my thing I wouldn't have been. Maybe I would have been told to be smart enough. That you're smart to say split up the married couples. I would be focused on the winners. So winners and married couples are kind of in trouble, aren't they? And that's interesting.
But everybody's in trouble. Here's the point. You know, you can only vote one person off at a time. You know, and most people are going to get voted off. So, you know what I'm saying? Everybody's got a loved one out there. So maybe the first thing to do is if you've got a pair and you've got three people who've been voted off, and then you just start splitting up all the pairs so that you guarantee that the final 10, let's say, are unrelated to the jury. The jury's all, they're all gone, right? The pre-jury boots are all gone, and then it's every man for himself.
Well, if you get...
You're going to have some returning players, and you're going to have some loved ones, none of whom have ever been related to the other.
But what that presupposes, Johnny, and you're not being logical, is...
Of course not. Why would I start now?
Is that the team, so say I'm on one team, and you get voted out on the other one. Does that make me more safe on my team?
Yes.
I don't know if they'll really think about that.
I would imagine it would. I would sure as hell argue that myself.
See, I even thought about this point, too. If I'm on one tribe and JJ's on the other tribe, and I have a lot more confidence in myself being able to make it to the merge by my social game, I would be tanking challenges so she's safe, don't have to go to tribal council. If I think I'm going to make it to the merge anyway, right, and then I just jump on board with her and her alliance over there.
Take to the merge if you're tanking challenges without everybody else being on board.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If it's like, I'm going to save my wife's butt by tanking this challenge for my tribe, everybody on the tribe is going to look at you and say,
yeah, but I mean, you're not going to be openly tanking it. I mean, you're going to, you're going to look like you're. I would just have more confidence in myself being able to stick around attending tribal council than I would her.
Yeah.
So I would rather risk it, and let her be for sure safe not going to tribal council.
But that's the dynamic. What you just laid out, I think, is something the producers are counting on or hoping for, which is that, let's say, there's a husband who's talking alone to the confessional, saying, I have a lot more confidence in myself. I think she's probably hurting out there.
Yeah.
Cut to the other tribe and her saying, her kicking ass out there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
She's totally been underestimated. I'm not saying this is the actual thing that would happen between the two of you, but that's what they're hoping for.
Right. Well, and it kind of goes back to, you remember when Rob was so protective of Amber and he tricked Lex.
Right.
that same thing can happen. So
he was so smart, he got them to save her.
right.
Isn't that weird thing when she was the only one?
Oh, that was a heck of a move by Rob.
Yeah, that was brilliant.
I still think to this day Lex is mad about that.
Right, probably should be.
What do you think when you show up that first morning and that first impression vote of the people we've talked about? You're going to lose a family member. You're going to lose a survivor. Who do you think would be in trouble?
Do they do it simultaneously?
Yeah, they do it right then. I was told that Jeff even uses, when he's trying to explain it to him, he tells them, he's pointing at the family members. He's like, and if you don't know their names, you can just say like Rupert's wife.
Jesus. Well, I'm sure Rupert wasn't happy about that. It's like, okay, guys, well, I don't know who I'm voting for, but Rupert's wife's as good as anybody else votes for. Look.
Well, who do you think on the returnees?
Unspoken secret. One more untold tale, okay?
Okay.
You spend days out there before the game starts with these people, right? The first time I played, you couldn't talk, you couldn't even look at each other.
That's supposed to still be the rule.
Okay. So we wouldn't look at each other, and yet I would see Yul, Quan, holding the door for somebody else.
Yeah.
I would, somebody would say, with their hand, would you pass the salt? Of course I would. Now, to my mind, that was like, oh, that's a cool guy. That's a guy that I could work with.
Right.
I immediately saw that and liked him from the get-go. Maybe people saw me and hated me from the get-go because I was the first one sent to Exile Island.
Yeah.
That's because you stole the chicken.
For whatever reason. What I'm saying is that there's stuff that goes on before the game. We see each other, and decisions are made, evaluations are had, so that if, God forbid, you step out there, when they voted off the singing lady, that psycho who was singing on the boat,
Wanda.
what the hell her name was?
Wanda.
Believe me, she'd been singing for days.
Probably, yeah. Well, this even goes.
She's a freak. Okay.
This even goes back as far as casting, because I know people that have been through the final process and everything, and they go back to their room and they're writing down notes about tall guy, dark hair, seem nice. They're. It happens even before they leave or even get cast.
Did that. She did a whole analysis of each player before the game started, and
Yeah.
I think a lot of her, what she wrote, was pretty accurate. I mean, she's an actress.
I did it. That whatever it's called, Ponderosa, before Cook Islands. I don't know if I still have those notes, but I took notes on everybody that I saw, which was half of the cast.
Yeah.
I took a note on Ozzy, who I thought, who didn't make eye contact with anybody and who seemed like, his poop didn't stink. Whereas, Yul, who was, beyond gracious. Sekou, who was a complete dip. He was lovely, but he just farted a lot and, was always cracking himself up. And, so there were... It's true. These are the impressions that you get, so that, not because I figured we might have to vote somebody out instantaneously, but because you're trying to size up who the heck you're going to try to align with in those precious first moments.
Exactly.
Now, I want to say, unfortunately, we have to go meet someone. Can we do this again?
Yeah, let me throw out one more twist that we didn't cover, real quick, on Redemption Island. If you win the challenge, you get a clue to the hidden idol.
If you win the challenge.
If you win the challenge, and you can give that clue to anybody, you can give it to your family, your loved one if they're still out there. You can give it to a friend. You can give it to somebody on the other tribe that maybe you want to draw some heat to.
Right.
So there's a lot of ways you can use that too.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd hate to have to make that choice, but yeah, that's a cool twist. I mean, there's so many twists. As you say, you're going to need a scorecard. I don't know. Do you need that many twists?
I don't think
we
they need
that
that.
many twists?
Yeah, I think they put in one or two too many.
I think so too. I think that certainly the giving the clue thing. That just I mean, I don't know. I liked the idols better when they were actually really hard to find, like they were in Cook Islands.
Yeah.
At least it took, I mean, I disliked the, the Russell here, like, you felt like the producers were pointing at the spot and he was just finding them. There's this way to split the difference, but giving the clues out, I mean, I feel like you would give it to your loved one because you would always want to have them have some extra protection. But because
but what if both of you were on Redemption Island and Jonathan won the challenge, you came in second? You got to give it to somebody. I don't know. It doesn't say whether you have to share it.
Yeah, that's the question. It's one of those things we always hated when I played with Exile Island. The team that won, if I remember correctly, the team that won had to send one of the losers to Exile Island.
Right.
Is that right? Or one of the losers had to send... Oh, yeah. I think it was a loser who had to send, yes. A loser got to send a non-loser or a winner to Exile Island. That's how Sekou and Nate sent me to Exile the first night of the game, basically.
I'm pretty sure with the clue, the way they'll do it, since they're going to still be stuck at Redemption Island, it's going to be where you have to give it to somebody. That's it would only make sense that way, because if you're out there, you could just hog the clue and not give it to anybody, and you don't get any drama out of that. So,
well, I think it. Well, go ahead.
I wanted to just ask: is the swap-a-roo thing also extended through the game, that you can trade with your loved one when you're or is it only the first time?
No, it lasts every week until Redemption Island is over. That lasts the entire game.
So, to me, if you have that, I don't think you also need this clue thing. It just seems like what we call
overkill.
Or very, very, very excellent executive we've worked with named Paul Shapiro calls it, is a thing on a thing.
Yeah.
You sometimes don't need so much.
Right.
You don't want the thing on the thing. And that feels like, to me, Johnny, don't you agree? The thing on the thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they're just... And they don't know either. That's the thing, really, right? They don't know when they put it together. They realized, oh, crap. If we're going to take away this, then we got to add this day zero. And if we're going to have Redemption Island, wouldn't it be cool if we could swap? They don't know how it's going to play out. All they really know is they're going to try some stuff, and they're going to do their best to cast 20 fantastic people, any of whom could go to the end, and maybe they don't believe anyone could win, but that however far you go, you're going to make for some good TV.
Yeah. I just think in this situation, they have such a good product that I don't think they need to tinker with it that much.
I agree.
Well,
I wish they'd listen to us, but they won't.
Yeah, they never listen. Well, I can't wait to see. I mean, let's see and let's.
Yeah, we'll let's watch a couple of weeks of it and get back together and give our thoughts then. It may completely change.
I would love that.
I'd love to.
We always like talking to you. So
all right.
honestly.
Well, y'all be safe, have fun tonight, and we'll do that. We'll hook back up in 3 or 4 weeks and see what it looks like.
Sounds
Awesome.
great. Bye.
Look forward to it, Jim. Everybody,
All right.
Thanks for listening, and we'll talk soon.
All right.
All right, buddy. Bye.
You done?